Enjoying the show? Tell us about it. Send us your feedback, suggestions, or thoughts to Hatrick and Ramsay at gmail.com.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the Hatrick and Ramsay podcast today. Speaking of podcasts, check out the Guy R. Cook Report Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. That's the Guy R. Cook Report. And we're on iTunes and we're on Podbean.
We've got our Guy R. Cook, who is from the Guy R. Cook Report podcast. He's going to do a brief chat about what he does on his show. And you hear the man live himself. So we're going to just give him a quick shout and we'll be back. Just going to make the phone calls. We've got to just a slight pause, but we will play a general jingly tune just while we wait. So we'll be back shortly. Hang on a second.
This show is brought to you by EdinburghDusters.com.
So we managed to get a hold of our second guest on the Hatrick and Ramsay Unleashed podcast show. We've got the Guy R. Cook from the Guy R. Cook Report, the man himself. So welcome, Guy, to the Hatrick and Ramsay Unleashed podcast show.
Thank you. Great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we have obviously in the last couple of shows we've publicised the Guy R. Cook Report, and tell our audience, what is the Guy R. Cook Report podcast about, and what do you talk about?
I talk about a number of things. I should caution and warn you that my Native American name in the Choctaw tribe is Talk-A-Lot, so if it gets going too long, just hold up a timeout symbol. I can see you on the camera there. And the Guy R. Cook Report was born in my imagination probably midway through 2015, but then that dread of doing a podcast came to light, and oh gosh, I'm too scared. I can't do it. I kept thinking up all these excuses not to do it. Okay. So then one Thursday, as you well know,
I know, yeah.
Fraser says to me in chat, "Hey, what about doing the Cook Report? Your name's Cook. You could do it." Well, I've been thinking about that for 6 months. I've got a lot of groundwork done already. I bought a background. You know how everybody has a background in their video to look nice. And so it was born. The Cook Report ran as the Cook Report for I forget how many months. And then one day, just in passing, I did a Google search for the Cook Report. I was on like page 17 because I guess years ago in the UK, there was a thing called the Cook Report. There's a political Cook Report. So to be the Cook Report. So remember, if he ever comes to you, Hatrick, and says, "Hey, what about doing the Hatrick Report?" Google it first. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And so it was born. We came to light, and I sort of went to the drawing board with how short can this show be? And the reason I wanted the shows to be short has to do with attention span, and that has to do with meeting user expectations. It's the kind of like the big umbrella that covers everything that I do, whether it's Happy Monday and refreshing the routine, or the Friday wrap-up, or Tuesday SEO tips, or Wednesday what's on my mind, or Thursday, which is B2B Thursday. The large umbrella is to exceed user expectations. So if you go to the expectation of, well, he's going to talk about Google Analytics, that's going to be boring, so I'm not going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, in those instances, when it comes off that way, I try to have what I refer to, Hatrick, as a pearl in the oyster. I might just have a simple, hey, you can make custom dashboards in Google Analytics. So if you get overwhelmed by having all of that data in front of you at one time, make a custom dashboard so you can just see, how long did people spend on the site? What were my top landing pages? Wow, that was loud.
I know. It
was a real one.
He's barricaded the door so his wife can't get in. That's the problem.
Yeah, it was Hatrick's house because he just did a quick turn like, cool, blimey. And so that's been the lion's share of it, has been to make awareness and to exceed expectations for people that have, maybe their question has to do with accelerated mobile pages. So we'll go on about that for a few minutes and say, these are some links that you can use. These are some references made for that. If you go to the GuyRCookReport.podbean.com, every episode is archived there. And if you click on the links there, you'll then go to Geyer Cook Online Services blog, which has every episode's show notes and text. Some of them I've even archived with a link to the video and a link to the audio right in that blog post. And I've quit doing it this year. The first of this year, I've simply settled for Podbean. It's got the audio. If you want to go to the video, you go to YouTube. And the bottom line is I've done over 250 episodes. If you go hashtag the Geyer Cook Report, I own it. You'll find us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've come a long ways.
Hugh, do you want to ask Guy anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely when you said that you want to make it short, I can really understand why. Because it's like when I go into YouTube and I look for videos to watch, whether it's about news or whatever it might be, if it's over 10 minutes, you kind of think, oh, that could be a bit long. And you just want to get what you want to know as quickly as you can. Yeah, so it's definitely accurate.
Well, Fraser's my witness. I think I've had over 10-minute shows I can count on one hand. I'm talking about all 200 and some plus shows. And that's because I kind of learned it from talk show television. They'll have one guest come on, and then they'll stop, they'll pause. They'll have another guest come on, they'll talk about their movie. Then they'll have a band come on, play their latest song. So each segment, if you look at it as a piece of the pie, might be an hour-long show, but that individual segment with Clint Eastwood was only 5 minutes or 6 minutes, right? And so I agree with you completely, Hatrick, that less is more. If you look in the statistics, the average length of something on YouTube is 4 minutes.
Yeah. It's most effective, I think, at that time. No, that's great. That's good. So how many followers do you have, and how many people listen to your podcast on a regular basis?
Since we started, I was just saying to Fraser before we started the recording, I just exceeded 1,700 downloads or views or listens, whatever Podbean's measure is. And I haven't looked at all of the stats. The thing that's difficult to know in terms of numbers is what I thought were numbers that were real and fast and true because I'd looked everywhere. I just today looked at my OSTAT statistics for the blog.GeyerCookOnlineServices.com space. I had hundreds of viewers. Like in a given month, I might have 1,400. Sometimes I had over 2,000. Depends on for some reason, August of 2016 was a biggie. I haven't looked at all the pearls in that oyster, but for some reason it exceeded it. So to say what's your, like in radio, they call it, what's your CUME? If you're doing the Arbitron ratings, and it's called the CUME, your collective total audience. And I don't know that unique number because Podbean streams me to iTunes. There are so many sites that scrape iTunes, and you know this because your show's on iTunes. The numbers exceed your imagination. Like you'll say, well, gosh, I must have had like a couple hundred people listen to that. And you'll go and there's 1,400 people downloaded the episode. Oh, so if there's a ruler that measures that distance, I don't have it in my hand.
Okay.
Is that
excellent. Well, we're going to say, I want to thank you for Guy being on our show. Guy, so just a quick reminder to our audience who listens to this, where can they find your show?
If you go to the GeyerCookReport.podbean.com, that'll be the audio once it's done. As I neglected to say, I do the show every morning at 7 a.m. Seattle time, and you can listen to it live on firetalk.com. The archives then happen right after that, within, a few minutes. So usually by the top of the next hour, I'll have it on. So if you go to firetalk.com at 7 a.m., you can see it live, 7 a.m. Seattle time. It's going to be 3 in the afternoon at your house, Fraser. And
okay. I'll go from there.
Right.
Well,
no, if Kevin heard you say that, he'd slap you.
Kevin's really
because he lives in Hatrick. He lives in Edinburgh, Scotland. You know that, right? Yeah. So when he says UK, it's that whole let's leave the Euro thing and get out of the European Union and all that. So now he's calling it UK, but fact of the matter is it's actually Scotland. Edinburgh, Scotland, famous city. I mean, if I say Edinburgh, Scotland to somebody I see on the street here in the Seattle area, Oh yeah, I've heard of that. So
Exactly.
Aye.
Well, listen,
we'll stop razzing him now.
well, thank you for being.
As you live in,
So go ahead.
as you live in Texas, where about in Texas are you?
Oh no, I'm not. I was born in Texas. I live.
Oh, you were born in Texas, huh?
I live physically right now. I'm sitting an hour west of Seattle. If you look at Seattle,
All right.
there's a big body of water called Puget Sound, and immediately west of that is the Olympic Peninsula. I live on the east side of the Olympic Peninsula, near a town. The big town on the map that'll come up first is probably Bremerton, is the biggest one. And there's a big, huge Puget Sound Navy shipyard facility there. In fact, that's where the Missouri used to be parked. The battleship Missouri that they signed the treaty in Japan, that used to be parked there. They had a big to-do about moving the Missouri. At that time, Norm Dixon was a congressman. He says, they're going to move the Missouri to Hawaii. Well, we've put mines in this harbor once before. And so there was a big to-do, and they finally ended up moving it, but there was quite a fuss about that. A lot of Navy veterans thought it wasn't quite right.
Anyway, listen, Guy, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for those who are listening. We'll, obviously, you can hear the promos that we have, so you'll always be updated on where you can find Guy and where you can listen to his show. So thank you for being a part of our show. Thank you.
Thank you
very much for having me. Nice to meet you, Hatrick, and cheerio, as they say.
Good to meet you. Cheers. Take care.
Bye-bye.